but we need to be dealing with our body because, baby, when the anxiety hits you, what takes over? That bodily, your physiological response, right? You might feel your heart rate increase, your stomach start getting upset. So you want to be able to actually regulate and get back grounded in your body first.
All right, welcome everybody. We're here at the Soul Restoration Center in Northeast Portland. And we're here with Zadora for part 2.
Hey, y'all.
And today, what are we talking about?
So we're going to talk about navigating anxiety.
Oh my gosh, that is, I need a GPS for that.
Oh, baby, turn left to the healing. Don't avoid. No, but yeah, so we'll talk about anxiety, talk about the cycle of anxiety, and different things you can do to help yourself manage or reduce that anxiety.
Love it. So for those who haven't seen the part 1 of this, can you give everybody a quick 30-second, who are you, what do you do, what is your business?
Yes, my name is Zadora Williams, and I am a licensed clinical social worker, which means I specialize in providing mental health therapy and healing services at my private practice, Sankofa Center for Healing.
Perfect. Love it.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about anxiety. What are some of the signs, symptoms? Because I think there are tons of people who believe they have anxiety, and I honestly don't believe them.
Yeah.
Because as someone who has suffered anxiety on a regular basis for a majority of my life, I know what anxiety is, and I think people don't know what real anxiety is.
Ooh, you sound like a person with anxiety.
Yeah, because I gotta. It's like I know about hip hop. Do you know about hip hop? Do you really know about hip hop?
No, it's funny because that's anxiety for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because anxiety can look different for everybody that experiences it, right? Because anxiety is a feeling, and it is a spectrum of level of anxiety that you can feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so depending on where you fall of that spectrum means on how you may present, how your anxiety might show, right? So do I look like a person that experiences anxiety?
No, you're like a ray of sunshine.
Okay, ray of sunshine. And yet I experience anxiety a lot. That's why that's why I say anxiety is my thing, because I love working with folks with anxiety, because guess what?
You knew our
I
first
work
hand.
through, exactly.
Yep.
I work through my own anxiety. It doesn't go away, you guys. It's still there. You learn how to manage and live with it.
Yeah. So what are some signs that you can think of like that would be of an anxious or person suffering anxiety?
Ooh, so
because I know there's a spectrum.
But
let's start with the middle.
Baby, we're gonna start with those thoughts.
Yes.
If you're finding that you are worried a lot, like just on a basic general level, you're worried about everything. Things you can and cannot control. Things that don't have nothing to do with you.
Yep.
You just worried about it. Your thoughts, you might even feel like they are overwhelming, right? That you can't even focus, right? So noticing that if you are having challenges with focusing, concentrating, feeling irritable, right? Or on edge. Even if you've been getting reports, sometimes we don't see ourselves, but sometimes others. So if you're hearing somebody that's like, man, you've been flying och the handle, or you go from 0 to 100 real quick. Anxiety will have you going from 0 to 100 because things may feel much intense than what they really are.
Yeah.
Because anxiety thrives off assumptions and uncertainty.
Yep.
So if you find that you are, feeling some physical symptoms of anxiety, because we know it's not just the thoughts, it's the physical. It can be headaches, it can be nausea, feeling those butterflies, like your stomach is twisting, right? It's also the chronic pain that you feel, because sometimes when we are anxious or we experience a trigger that hits our nervous system, it can send you into fight or flight. So your body physiologically just ramped up for survival.
Yeah.
And all it was the thought of, did that person reject me? That person was looking at me wrong. They must don't like me, whatever done got you anxious in your head. And it's like, just that worry,
Yep.
worry done sent your body into a response of, okay, I don't know, do they
Yeah.
like me? Am I safe here?
Yeah, it's like that imaginative narrative that of a story that like is most likely fiction.
Yeah.
And you, but in your heart, you're like, no, that's true. It's true. It's got to be true.
Yes.
Because I'm not crazy. It's true.
It gotta be right. They're looking at me. They must be talking about
Exactly.
me. I know they're judging me in their head.
Exactly.
Right. That's how anxiety lives.
Yes.
Anxiety will have you thinking and believing things that are not true. It distorts your perception of reality.
Love it. So, like, what are the cycles of anxiety? And you talk about like how it can be disrupted. How do you do that?
So the cycle of anxiety is, okay, right? I encounter this situation or this event that causes me anxiety. And we can roll with, say, you have social anxiety. So I want to go to this networking event. It causes me anxiety. I go, I feel anxiety. And next time I'm like, I'm not going, right? I avoid it. So the cycle of anxiety teaches you to feel it and then avoid it. And then what happens is the anxiety increases. And then your guilt and shame also increases because now you skipped out on the last function. Now you're holding that guilt and shame of, now I got to go back and deal with the judgment you think it's going to come with. Oh, you didn't show up last week, or why you didn't come?
I thought you committed to us. I thought you wanted to be a part
all
of us.
All of that you think they're going to do.
Yep.
And it just creates that cycle where it grows and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of, yep, my anxiety is too much. I can't manage it, because this is also the dialogue that may be that you're reinforcing unconsciously, is that I can't handle it. My anxiety is unmanageable. I can't even go into a public space, and this is never going to get better. In fact, I'm more anxious now.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about disrupting it, because I would imagine the biggest thing, of course, is do not avoid it.
Yes, don't avoid it.
Logic.
Don't avoid it.
How dare you, logic?
Yes. So the thing is that, you want to be aware of what's causing the anxiety, and it's different things you can do, because there's cognitive things you can do. So one of the things is becoming aware of, what is the narrative around it? Like, what are your thoughts about it? Oh, I didn't want to go to that event because, when I went in there for that little 10 minutes, everybody was looking at me. No, sis, they were looking at that beautiful portrait that was behind you, but you didn't know because your anxiety said, they're looking at me, they're judging me, and you got out of there.
Yeah.
You didn't even stick around to ask.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you can do to disrupt that cycle. Knowing that anxiety lives on assumptions, it distorts your perception. One for sure way to know something is to ask a question.
Yeah.
So you want to, hey, you know what? That person's looking at me. Oh man, I think they're mad at me. Yeah, it's making me anxious. I know they mad at me. I missed their call. You're literally having a conversation with yourself.
Yep.
Instead of just going to ask that person, hey, you know what? You are looking at me a certain way, or I feel like you're mad at me because I see the way you've been looking at me. Is that true? Are you mad at me? And somebody like, no, I'm actually in my own head thinking about doing the same thing you're doing.
I'm exactly doing the same thing.
I'm over here thinking about you looking at me and thinking about all the things,
You want to talk about chaos, put a bunch of anxious people in a room and all you got to do is just put a frown.
Yes.
Everybody else is going to think it's them. It's them. Exactly.
Yep, I did something wrong. I did it. It's me. It has to be me.
Yeah.
And that's the distortions of
I think one thing that I've learned is very much don't assume what people are thinking, and like I always ask clarifying questions because and people find that very annoying, but in the same sense is like that's my way of never assuming what you're thinking.
Exactly.
Because then it's also a situation of it clarifies that like no, I like nothing's wrong. Right. I'm either feeling a certain way or I'm in my own thoughts or my own feelings.
Right.
And I need to get out of that.
Feelings are not facts.
Nope.
That's what anxiety, you want to know that hashtag anxiety. Feeling is not fact.
Yep.
Because that feeling will have you acting a fool.
Yep.
If you took the time to actually examine the facts, which is another way to disrupt the cycle of anxiety is, all right, so there's this thing, these thinking patterns called cognitive distortions. And it's just different ways that we kind of interpret and perceive the world around us, right? So one example of a cognitive distortion is black and white thinking, right? This living in extremes. Somebody does one thing bad, all of a sudden they're a bad person all the time.
Yeah.
Or, oh my goodness,
The cancel
I'll never
culture.
be. Yes, that's very much cancel culture.
Yes.
So knowing that these anxiety clouds the way you process things, the way you process events or information, you would want to say, if you have a thought that's causing anxiety, and its chances are, I'm going to say 99% is probably not true, but you're going to examine it. You're going to put it on trial. Okay, what's the evidence? All right, I said, you know what, I failed this test, and now because I'm black and white, I'm a failure. Wait a minute, let me examine the evidence. Am I a failure? No, I actually passed test 1, test 2, test 3, and I just failed test 4. Oh, okay. So that's teaching you the cognitive skills to be able to grade up that black and white thinking. So you can now see that it's not either or, all or nothing. Just because you fail one thing does not make you a failure. But the way your thought pattern is, or the way you were looking at that situation, had you getting caught up feeling like a failure.
Do you feel that like anxiety is like taught, or is it something that is like naturally happening?
A little bit of both.
Because I feel like, especially, you know, in my own personal life, I feel that there has been times where like I've witnessed people in my family assume that like, oh, this person thinks he's all high and mighty. Phrases like that, or like, oh, they didn't come over here, they must like have a problem with me.
Yes,
and all these things.
I know.
And like, and you hear those as a kid, and like, and they're like, well, my mom must be a mind reader, and then like, what is she seeing? And it's like, oh, that makes sense. So like, so I truly believe it is something that is passed on, and it is. I call it a generational curse.
Me too.
So
that's
like,
funny. Because that's what I say. It's like, it's really the generational conditioning. Like, it's the way. This is where we have to pay attention as far as us as Black folks. When we are addressing our mental health and addressing anxiety, we have to look at our ancestors. We have to look at the historical events that have happened, because we might have, Black folks don't get depressed, Black folks don't get suicidal, Black folks don't do anxiety, we don't get that. Yeah, but you know what? Because of the survival methods in which our ancestors, our grandparents had to survive, hey, you can't go this way because you are Black, you cannot go here, that got passed down in child rearing.
Oh yeah.
So
avoiding conflict, because there's always because there's an extreme. I mean, we talk about we talk about like even going back, 50, 60 years. There's an extreme of like, oh, we don't go to this store. We are not out after night because if we are found out at night, we will get killed. And or if you look at this woman and the way people look at you, there's going to be this negative resentment. And I have felt that way. I mean, we talk about like I think. Sorry, I'm gonna have like a small side story. So, for those who've known me during the pandemic, I've been very vocal about mental health, because I do not do well isolated. And like for me, I had to find out every single way I could. I was also unemployed, and I was single. And I had to figure out like how I can manage myself during this time. I couldn't get mental health. No one was doing it. You couldn't find a therapist in 100 miles.
Oh, I know.
So it was very hard for me. But like, one of the things that, I had to learn was, I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. When George Floyd died, it was the first time in my entire life where I felt that maybe people are like out to kill me. Because I grew up in Gresham, which back before it was very white. I was one of like probably 6 Black kids in my entire school. People liked me because I was in football. I was really charismatic. I was a large kid, but I was also a very kind person and all that stuff. And people liked me, and like I never really felt any racism. Never was called the N-word. The first time I was ever called the N-word was when I was 26.
Yeah.
No, 27.
Wow.
So I went through a majority of my life never experiencing true racism,
Yeah.
like blatant racism. And then 2020 happened, and all of a sudden, like, George Floyd dies, and there's the Black Lives Matter protests. And at one point, like, we're seeing people getting run over by cars.
Yes.
We see vandalism. We see Proud Boys coming out and shooting people. We see, you know, people with AKs, assault rifles going around. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt that, like, I had a giant, a way bigger target on my back, and I've been very foolish.
Yes.
And I felt like I was like, how could I have gone and done so many things in my entire life, gone to so many neighborhoods, gone and looked at so many, looked at women, or been out to country like shows. I worked at a country bar. I was like, how could I have put myself in all these situations where I could have literally, it could have been a very different story if it went the wrong way. Thank God it didn't.
Yeah.
But like my anxiety level went through the roof when I found out George Floyd died.
Yes.
And seeing someone, large black man, like get killed in front of everybody, and like because of like the assumptions. Assumptions kill people.
Assumptions kill people.
And
bias. Your bias is killing.
But it's just like an anxiety kills people. What is the biggest reason why people, like officers, kill each other is not because they're black, because they're anxious that a black person's going to kill them.
Exactly.
And in the same
it's
sense,
me or you.
It's me or you. It's
but I'm in survival mode. I'm not even regulated myself, and that's why these killing. I'm operating out of my anxiety. And
exactly.
So, this is why.
So I definitely think that, like, you know, the conversation about anxiety needs to be talked about more. It needs to be understood. There needs to be a real education about like the importance of regulating anxiety in a day-to-day situation. And I think if people actually started understanding anxiety, they would stop the assumptions.
Yes.
Because then the real questions would happen.
Right? Because then and that's where it's like this is a whole generation societal kind of healing thing of anxiety, is because everything is just fueling one thing after the other, right? If I'm anxious in my interactions with you, that means I'm not even, I've lost I've lost a significant capacity of actually being able to make good judgments, healthy decisions in this moment. My ability to regulate myself has decreased because I'm overwhelmed with anxiety.
I'm going to be passive because I'm going to avoid that situation. And then when you avoid that situation, you feel like a coward because I should have addressed the situation. Now I lost on this opportunity to overcome this part of me.
And then you start feeling depressed because you didn't push yourself to go through it.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the piece. That's why you always have to have grace and empathy for yourself and your journey of knowing it's not going, like I said, it's not going to always go, it's not going to be smooth sailing. You're going to go back. You're going to dip into your old ways, and that's okay because that person helped, right? Same with our ancestors. Those ways of surviving, they helped them survive. We don't need that type of mindset necessarily all the time today, right? Because certain mindsets led to anxiety, right? Or it also led to the mindset being limited of what black people think they can do, right? Oh no, black men can't do this. That's for the white man. Or, or even how anxiety sometimes presents in black households. OCD, right? We don't even go there, right? But OCD, your auntie who been up at 2 a.m., she cleaning excessively, right? Black folks say soon as you sit your cup down, they getting up cleaning at the house. Anxiety. It's like we have not talked about it in a way in which it actually presents because we're using unfortunately, the white supremacy and colonized tools of talking about anxiety. When it's like, that's the thing of what you get with Sankofa Center for Healing is, no, baby, we're talking about what it looks like through the Black lens of honoring what our generations have passed down and why anxiety is showing up so much more prevalent now.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Definitely.
Because so much is, everything is like, watch out, be hypervigilant. You're not safe.
Yeah.
What happens when you actually teach Black children that you can be safe? Like, you acknowledge what the threats are and the dangers, but we're not going to even buy into that you're not safe. We're going to say that you're protected. You are safe. You are loved. Like, because that's the mindset. That's where I want you to operate from. Not going out into the world thinking that your life is limited. Because from what I've heard from working with Black males, even Black males in their 30s that did not expect to be in their 30s, was that, oh, you know why I got into some of the trouble I did as a teenager? Because they told me I wasn't going to make it past 18. So it was like, I got to live life. I got to experience. I got to do different things because I'm not even expected to live. So think about how that changes your life choices when you think you're not even
everything in 10 in 5 8 years.
You know, it's interesting. So
oh my goodness. All right, so I think this is super valuable. I want to talk about, like, we have some tools that we need to use to overcome anxiety. Some of these I've actually done myself, so let's talk about them. Like, what are some ways we can, like, some tools we can use to overcome this anxiety?
So I've always talked about some of the cognitive skills, because you want to be doing your mental, your challenging, because that's heavy. It's all thought-based, perceptions, your thoughts and belief. You want to be challenging them when you're noticing that they're increasing your anxiety. So the other thing that is often left out of therapy, a lot, it's focused on talk therapy, but we need to be dealing with our body because baby, when the anxiety hits you, what takes over? That bodily, your physiological response, right? You might feel your heart rate increase, your stomach start getting upset. So you want to be able to actually regulate and get back grounded in your body first, and then do some of those mental challenging techniques because, hey, how can you challenge your anxiety when you're still in it? So some of the different things that I encourage people to do, of course, breath work, bring everything back to breath. Everything needs to start with breath, because the way we breathe, maybe, can help you. It can help you in a anxiety, if you're having a panic attack. It can help you just get back grounded so you can problem solve after you're experiencing anxiety. So what I like to talk about is straw breathing, which is a breathing technique that stimulates your vagus nerve. And this nerve is of importance. You know, when we talk about, oh, you get on my last nerve, it's really, you might as well say this is that nerve, because this is the longest nerve that runs from your brainstem and it runs down to the base of your spine. So it connects your stomach, which is why you get nauseous when you're anxious. It's attached, also connected to your heart, your throat, your vocal cords. So when you stimulate that nerve, it activates your rest and digest. This is where you want to be when your body is in fight or flight. So when your body is activated and that adrenaline is pumping, the goal is to get to rest and digest, to get back into calm zone, to send those signals to your body, to your brain that, no, false alarm. Threat, it's not a threat. My anxiety lied to me. It's not a threat. So straw breathing, you use a straw and you want to inhale through your nose. You can do it for 5 seconds and then you're going to hold it. And the thing to remember, and even if you don't have a straw, the thing is to pucker your lips as if you had a straw. And on that exhale, it's going to be a long and slow exhale. And that's how you stimulate that vagus nerve to send that signal to your brain that, hey, we're no longer under threat. Our heart rate can slow back down. Adrenaline can start to decrease. We can now start to get back regulated. So you want to inhale. I'm just going to pretend I'm doing it. And then when you're exhaling, your exhale, slow and long. You always want to keep that slow and long. And that's why you pucker, because that forces you to, instead of let it out quick, it forces you to let it out slow.
Yeah.
And that is what you're doing to build that capacity to get that window of dysregulation, of feeling anxious all in your body, getting it down slower and slower. That window, we're decreasing that window so that, hey, you know what? Wow, I was anxious, but I ain't have to feel it for 2 hours. You know what? I've been working on my straw breathing and stimulating that vagus nerve, and I actually got my window down to an hour and a half. Now it's down to an hour. Another thing is, I'm always talking about anxiety. I'm going to go always with the vagus nerve. So the techniques I'm going to give you stimulate this nerve, because everybody needs to know, even if you don't understand how your nervous system works, that this nerve is worth tapping into if you're anxious, depressed, need to mobilize, or need to regulate. But it's called cold exposure. So if you're feeling anxious, your thoughts is on, your body is ramped up, actually going and putting cold water on your face, running it on your face for 30 seconds, and just watching. That's going to stimulate that nerve once again. It signals this, what we call diver's response of, all right, we're in water, slow everything down to protect you. All right. So that's the importance of, even when you see sports or athletes sitting in that cold ice water, their body has just went through trauma on that basketball court.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's how they are healing their body and getting it back ready for game number 2. Yeah. So that's that same process of, hey, you know what, I'm anxious. I really got work to do. What can I do right now to kind of send that signal?
Yeah.
I'm going to go run some cold water on my face. I'm going to do that 3 times for 30 seconds. And I'm going to rate my anxiety. Before that, I'm going to rate how I feel. Even you'll notice if your thoughts are, you'll notice it. Hey, as soon as that cold water hits, it's like, all right. So doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
And lastly, I will say tapping. Using your physical body, your hands.
Okay.
We are self-healers, and our body is filled with different energy centers and meridian points that, acupuncturists use. Say if you were going to get acupuncture for anxiety or different mental health challenges or emotions, they would put needles in these different points, but you can also tap on these different meridian points from your head. I'm just going to direct where the tapping is. You're tapping here, 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 collarbone, and under here. And you're doing that on both sides. And what you want to do before you even engage, you want to rate your anxiety, because you want to be tracking everything. Yeah. How are you feeling? And know if you need to repeat it. And how many times did you repeat it? 3 times and then felt relief? Don't give up, because these skills, they're holistic. They take time. You have to practice them so that you can get your outcomes you want. So stay committed to that journey, even when it's like, oh, I didn't disrupt it quick enough. The practice, you're building the skill. So knowing that you rate your anxiety, and then you want to actually create your coping. What's going to be your phrase? All right, you acknowledging what your feeling is, and you want to affirm it. All right, I'm feeling anxiety, and I know I'm exactly where I am supposed to be, right? When you're feeling like you're not supposed to be in a space, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And as you're going through your tapping, you can tap 7 times on each point. You're going to keep repeating that statement and engage in your breath. Just really bringing in this full body grounding experience. Yeah. So that is what you can do. Ground yourself. Wow. Use your 5 senses to distract from anxiety. That's one of the things, the last thing I will say that I use religiously is aromatherapy oils. I engage in Reiki, sound healing, different holistic ways of treating anxiety through your body, your mind, and spirit, knowing that you can't just do one. You can't just deal with the physical. You can't just deal with the mental. You have to incorporate the spiritual piece as well. So,
love it. So, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Sadora, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
I so appreciate you having me.
And if you guys want to learn more, we're going to leave all the links down below. Thank you, the Soul Restoration Center, for having us
Yes.
here. You guys are awesome. You know, if you guys want to find more information, make sure you guys ask any questions down in the comments. Share this with people. A lot of the conversation that we're having, anxiety is a lot more common than people think.
Yes.
And I think that, like, you know, having this be a conversation starter where you can actually start diagnosing, whether with yourself or with a professional, I think this is going to lead to a better, not just yourself, but even a community that we live in.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to a anxiety-free and assumption-free
That's
community.
right. Yeah, let me go ahead and plug the 4 Agreements, because that book will help you.
The 4 Agreements.
The 4 Agreements by Ron Louise. But yes, it's the guiding principles on don't make assumptions.
Ooh.
Be impeccable with your words.
Love it.
Of course, I'm going to mentally be impeccable with your words. Don't take assumptions. Oh, always do your best. And who got me? Anybody else ready?
I don't know.
Dang.
Dang it.
Sorry, I'm going to blank on the 4th principle because I'm on the spot. But that is a book that it will help you change your mindset
Perfect.
and remove yourself from making assumptions when you honor that we're all human.
Love it.
We all make mistakes. And guess what? We can all still meet each other with empathy, grace, and not make assumptions.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. All right, we'll put that link down in the description as well. Thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful day. Get in control of your anxiety, y'all. It's super important. Thank you.